Hi everyone, and welcome to another fluid art tutorial video. In this video, I'm going to be mixing this epoxy resin directly into these acrylic paint mixtures for a fluid pour. I have done this in a previous video, video 12, but this time I have a working torch and I'm going to be adding a bit more resin and see if that can still work. So I have all my mixtures here in some neutral colors. And for the last one, which will be the metallic gold, I'm going to show the whole process. I have a 3-ounce cup filled with just a bit of Floetrol here, probably filled a quarter of the way. And now I'm going to go in and add in some gold, which is the Molten Mark brand. I'm only filling these 3-ounce cups about a little more than halfway, so it does have room for that resin. I'm just eyeballing it. I don't measure exact ratios, but it is about half Floetrol, half paint. I go by consistency. I'm going to add in a touch of this burnt umber brown and a little bit of black that I have here, just to darken it up and make it more of an antique gold, which is my favorite metallic shade. I do need these mixtures to be a bit more thin than my typical acrylic pouring mixtures to counteract with the thickness of the resin. So to start, I have some 99% isopropyl alcohol, and I'm just going to add that into the mixture. I like to use a little bit of alcohol. I find it will help eliminate a lot of the bubbles from the resin. And here I just have some water. We're going to thin out this mixture with water as well. And I know that you're not supposed to mix water with resin, but I decided to experiment with it anyways, and so far it's worked out great, so I'm going to continue to do so. So I'm just checking the consistency here. It's a bit too thick. I'm going to go in and add a bit more water. I use the mixing stick as a guide to check the consistency. I'm also going to darken it up a bit more with some more brown. So I'm just going to lift the stick up, let the paint drip down, and you shouldn't see much of the paint shape going on top. It should dissipate quickly. Then you know you have the right consistency and you're ready to add in the resin. So you can see it's a much darker gold now here. And we are ready to add in that resin. Previously, I added in 4 ounces of the epoxy resin mixture into about 15 or 16 ounces of these acrylic paint mixtures. This time, I'm adding in 6. So 3 ounces of the epoxy and 3 ounces of the hardener. I've mixed it well. It sat out for a few minutes, so I'm just going to torch the top here and get rid of some of those bubbles. I will be adding it to all 5 of the neutral color palette, as well as the white that you see there, which is the base layer. And again, I don't measure, I'm just eyeballing it, trying to add equal parts into all the different colors. If one of them is too thick, I will thin it out with some water after. I'm just going to add it to all the colors here. I still have some left, so let's go back and add it into the ones that aren't quite as full. And more to the base layer since it is more volume of paint. Now we mix and see if this is working. I've tried this experiment a few times, and when I used higher ratios of the epoxy resin, when I would stir it here, it is a sticky mess. It does not pour well, and it does not cure. So I'm really making sure the consistency is similar to what I would normally pour with. It's a bit too thick. So I'm going to go ahead and add in a bit more water here. And that should do the trick. So the gold is ready. I'm going to go ahead and mix all the other colors, and we will get on to the next step. Now I have the resin mixed into all my acrylic paint mixtures, and it's time to layer the cup. I've already done 1 cup here. You can see I'm not filling it right to the top. I'm going to show the process for the second cup. And I forgot to show what kind of resin I'm using. It is magic resin. It's the tabletop resin. I find it works really well for these mixtures, so it's been my go-to. Sorry for the camera angle here, but there is the hardener, and again I used equal parts A and B. So let's start layering. This is a pretty neutral palette. I do have the blue here, it's quite dark, and then you can see the red shade there as well. Other than that, the three colors are all neutral, and all these colors look great together. So when layering, I'm not concerned which ones are layering one on top of the other. All the colors look nice together. I do like to pour just small amounts at a time. I like my lines to be nice and thin. So I pour several layers. And so far the consistency is seeming great. They are all the same consistency, which will make a big difference in the pour. If one of these colors was more thin, it would overpower the painting. And if a color is more thick than the others, it gets buried underneath and you'll barely see it. So it is important to make sure that all your paint mixtures are the same consistency. So I'm just going in here, layering small amounts, one on top of the other, and then we will get to pouring. In total, I will have about 10 to 12 ounces of the paint mixture, and that will be enough to cover a canvas that is 12 by 16 inches. So I'm just adding the final bits of each of these colors, and then this cup will be ready to go. Finish off with our gold here, and there we have it. So there are 2 cups ready to pour, and our base layer. Let's get on to the pour. I have my 12 by 16 canvas propped up on 4 upside down cups, and I have a garbage bag underneath to catch any of the drippings. I'm just pouring the base layer on, and I'm just gonna spread it out with my gloved hand here. This layer does not need to be perfect in any sense. It's gonna help the paint glide across the canvas and keep some nice crisp lines. Oh, I see a little hunk there. We're just gonna pull that out. And then just roughly spread it across the canvas. And you can see even with the resin mixture, it's spreading really well. It's gliding over all those corners with ease. So I definitely got the consistency right. And it seems like using a bit more resin, I used the 6 ounces this time. So far it is working. We'll have to see if it cures though. I'm just finishing up the last corners here. And that looks like a pretty decent base layer. So now we can get on to pouring. And I did do a quick torch of the base layer before pouring this next layer, but I forgot to tape it. So here we are, on to the pour. So I'm just doing an almost rainbow shape right on the edge here. And you can see all the colors are holding up. They're not blending together. And you can already see that unique texture that adding the resin to creates. It's been one of my favorite parts of this experiment, is how it creates this very different texture than I typically get with my fluid pours. So that was an exciting little discovery. Now I'm just taking the second cup here, and I'm trying not to waste any. I'm not letting it go off the edges yet. I will spread it after, and making sure that all of the paint is on the canvas. Just going to do some thinner lines here, get a little different pattern in there. And our second cup is just about done. It's pouring really well. And there we have it. Now we can get to spreading this across the canvas. Hopefully those lines will maintain their shape. First up, a quick little torch. Get rid of any bubbles we can. Now we can spread it all out. I'm going to start with this corner here. And it's gliding really well. So I'm Happy about this process so far. None of the lines are warping or becoming malformed. So far, so good. It's gliding really easy across this canvas, and I had more than enough paint here. So that was nice and simple to get across the canvas. It took no time at all. Just doing some final touches. Spreading the paint just a bit more. And there we have it already. That took no time at all. The canvas is covered. I'm just doing an edge check and repositioning the cups underneath so that this dries evenly. I also have the underside taped with frog tape, so I can peel that off after and I'm not left with a resin mess on the back. I am done creating this piece, but now we have to wait and see if it will cure properly. I'm going to do one final torch here. I'm not seeing a lot of bubbles, so that's a good sign. But just to be sure, I'm going to torch lightly over the top here. Now I will wait 24 hours and we will see how this painting dried. And here we have it, the final dried results of this piece. Let's take a closer look. So you can see that very unique grainy-like finish that the resin mix creates. And it's the perfect amount of gloss, not overpowering, but those colors look nice and vibrant. Honestly, the video is not doing it justice, but the metallic gold absolutely glimmers in the light. It looks almost like an agate stone. I absolutely love this piece and can't wait to try a resin mix again. Next time I'll try even higher ratio of resin to acrylic paint. We'll see how that goes. But for now, thanks for watching. Bye.